Welcome back to Screen Chat on RiotRadio.ca. I'm your host, Justin. With me, as always, is Eldin.
Howdy.
Thank you for being here, Eldin. Really excited for today's episode. And as you guys know, Screen Chat is your show all about Marvel movies, DC Comics, Star Wars adaptations, and much, much more. So today, I'm really looking forward to this episode as we have a lot of good things to talk about. We're going to touch on Invincible Season 2, Part 2, Marvel's recent animation W's. But first, we begin with Star Wars: The Bad Batch.
Okay, put a pause on that. I want to get my rant out of the way before we start this.
We're gonna go on another rant.
Just want to briefly touch on the Acolyte again.
Yes.
I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I saw the director had a. I don't even want to call it it was like one of those things where you sit down and you talk to the fans, and someone's like. They basically, I don't know what the question was, but it was basically like, do you care if people don't like it? And the director was like, no, I don't really care if you don't like it. I don't care if you don't like the show. I don't care about the Star Wars universe. And all I want to say is, why are we hiring somebody who doesn't care about what they're making? That's like, yeah, 50's a pass, but a fail's a fail.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like they could at least put the effort in. You could have been like, yeah, why not? You know, maybe I'll read some of the comics about the High Republic. No. It was like basically, I think this person just went on a tangent about how like Star Wars is so big and so great and grand, but I don't care if you don't like what I'm doing. Why are you gonna make the fans so upset? How is that? How are you gonna be rehired? And the way I think this goes though is I think that they've already been told they're not coming back.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And at that point they're like, all right, well I'll just go out guns blazing, but then you're burning bridges. Like,
yeah.
You want to be known as the person who made a terrible Star Wars show? That's what you want to be known as, and who also was unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
Like, I made this, you're gonna like it. And it's like, actually, no, I'm not. It's terrible. Spencer, my best friend, who doesn't even watch Star Wars, does not enjoy Star Wars. I was talking to him about this, and he's like, "What is the point?
Yep.
Like, what is the point of doing this? Who's this gonna make happy? Nobody." And I think that's it. Mini rant over.
Deep breaths. So as we come back, I need to acknowledge that we did lie to you last week. I did say we will not be talking about the Acolyte again until the season is over. And now legitimately less than a week later, because a special time today, Thursdays 2 to 3 for Screen Chat. Less than a week later, we're talking about it to start the show. So I will take credibility for that because he never said he was done talking about it. I said that, and then as soon as the show ended, Eldon's like, well, if we're talking about Star Wars next week, I'm going to bring this up.
This is an ever-moving battle.
Yeah, it is
never going to end.
Well, on a positive note, I would say that we're going from a Star Wars L to a Star Wars W, which is The Bad Batch Season 3. Now, this is one of, I guess, the most refreshing contents that Star Wars has ever given us, in my opinion. This is the Season 3 poster there with Omega herself, with I guess the can we call them clones still?
Yeah, they're all clones.
I guess, with the clones.
But they're dads. Or actually, technically her brothers.
Her brothers, I guess.
Yep.
And then obviously good old Palps himself there in the middle. Yeah. So, Eldin, you are fully caught up on Bad Batch. So initially, just what are your thoughts on Season 3, I guess, comparatively to not just Star Wars in general, but I guess to the previous two seasons?
Yeah, so if we look at this in a vacuum of just what we've had today, or not today, sorry, up to date with Bad Batch Season 1, 2, and 3, Season 1 was fantastic.
Yep.
We had a lot of cameos. We had a lot of characters that are returning. We got to see Fennec Shand for the first time in animated. We got to see Cad Bane. We got to see all these characters that we really hadn't seen. We got to see why the Kaminoans don't make clones anymore, because they destroyed their city. Kaminoans don't have a city anymore. Like, it's such a good first season. Second season was a lot of like kind of picking up the pieces and dealing with what's happening. And then also like the very end of it, Tech dies. We don't know if he's dead or not. We haven't seen him. He fell into a gorge. If somehow Palpatine survived, somehow Tech survived. So that being said, Season 2 was like, I think, the weakest.
Yep.
Season 3 has been so good so far. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episodes, I'm going to give you approximately 10 seconds, starting now, to punch off this episode. If you have not seen the most recent episode of Bad Batch, skip ahead.
All right,
we're good. Okay, so in the trailer we saw Asajj Ventress.
Yeah.
And we finally have her. And having Asajj Ventress is amazing. And it's not Asajj Ventress with the red lightsabers. She only has one lightsaber, and it's, I guess, yellow, which is a Jedi kind of defender, or a Jedi, a defender, I think it's called. Or you can call her a Grey Knight, which are basically like Jedis that kind of don't fall into either one. She's a redeemed Jedi.
Redeemed Jedi, yeah.
Love to hear it. We have her now. We also got to see, we mentioned M counts. M counts. I knew when I heard M count, I'm like, okay, midichlorians. The big theory right now is that if Omega, if she had gone through training at a young age, she would be a Jedi.
Okay.
Which is the first time ever, because you really can't clone M count because everyone's different. Thus, when Palpatine makes a clone of himself in Episode 9,
Sheev.
Sheev. And when Sheev makes little Sheev doesn't have the Force.
Yep.
But when little Sheev makes Rey, Rey's got the Force.
Let's go.
I don't know.
Logic.
I'm not a cloner. But that being said, it's an amazing season so far. This episode recently, we got to see Asajj taking on a more mentorship role, a redeemed role.
Yep.
We got to see the Bad Batch looking at her and being like, I've seen you somewhere. It's like, you get some new hair and you think you can hide from us? And they're like, you're Asajj Ventress, a separatist assassin.
Oh.
And she's like, we all lost the war. Some of us more than ever, more than others. And it's like, yeah, you're right.
Was that in the trailer? I feel like I saw that clip too.
I think so. And in the trailer also, she said, I'm trying not to kill you, but you're making it really hard not to. And then Wrecker goes, we're like that. And like, I love Wrecker. Like, Wrecker's hilarious. So I think it's an amazing season thus far. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of things in the future that are going to tie in. We still have to see what's going to happen with the M count. We still have to see, where's Tech. I think we're going to get like an Echo kind of situation where Echo came back as a robot or a cyborg, I guess a cyborg, and maybe Tech will do that. We don't really know.
Yeah, we could see that.
Tech's pirate girlfriend is still around. So much is happening. We also get to see Palpatine. So seeing Palpatine, like, this is the first time we've seen Palpatine in a long time. So we should have a picture of Palpatine to show, and like, it is a great picture. Just seeing him, like that is a good shot. Like the Clone Commandos, period. The fact that that's a legion of clone commandos, those are like the highest trained clones.
Yeah, that's
then
gnarly.
The Praetorian, not Praetorian Guard, I guess the Honor Guard or the Red Guard, and Dr. Hemlock, and then
Dr. Hemlock, yeah, there he is.
And then I can't remember what her name is, the Kaminoan, but she's like one of the last Kaminoans left.
Yeah,
between her and the Prime Minister. So you have like this huge, amazing cast, and this is the first time we've seen the Emperor since the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
and like this is amazing. So with that being said, like it's something we wanted to see. We also have like Omega and like a new haircut, which looks pretty cool too. But yeah, it's not bad. So yeah.
Yeah, no, as someone who's so I'm not fully caught up on the Bad Batch, but I love Star Wars, and I feel like with Star Wars and Marvel, for me as like a fan, I don't need to like see specifics or read specifics to have a conversation.
Yep.
So I will say I am happy that the Bad Batch has been pretty well so far.
Yeah.
Now I thought that that Boba Fett was gonna be in it in season 2, and he wasn't. And I like I made a joke with my friends that I would start it when Boba Fett came in, and now I've taken that joke a bit too literally.
Justin's on what's the word? Strike.
Yeah, the strike.
It's like Hunger Strike, but it's Boba Fett strike.
Boba Fett strike. So I'm waiting for Boba, hopefully being voiced by Daniel Logan, who knows? Or maybe Tamara Morrison again.
That'd be actually wild if it was Tamara Morrison.
Yeah.
I will say, like, we had Cad Bane, we have Fennec Shand now.
Yeah.
We've had a couple other bounty hunters. So I'm really kind of hoping we are going to see at least a hint towards him.
Didn't they mention like his name in season 2?
He's been mentioned before, and because they mentioned like clones who aren't clones, right? Like Boba and Omega are kind of like the only two of their kind because they are fully aged properly and they don't have the accelerated growth, because that's why all the clones are like failing. They're all aging at an alarming rate.
Exactly.
We got to see Commander Wolf in the last episode, and we haven't seen Wolf since
since
Rebels.
I feel like I had a Lego figure of him.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Wolf was the commander of Plo Koon's force. Wolf was the one who shot him down. I think it's actually maybe Wolf was the ground crew. I don't know who was in the sky with him, but Wolf was there when he died. I love Wolf. He's also the guy who kind of screws over the rebels in Rebels because he calls the Empire. He's also the one who just tried to apprehend the clones after they rescued Omega, and he's like, oh, actually, you guys are clones. And Cody was there too, and Cody's like, or not Cody, sorry, Rex.
Rex, sorry. Yeah,
and you see like Rex's force. So, like, you're seeing this whole like clone resistance, and like you never had this storyline before, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, no, I definitely love when you get like callbacks to old characters. You know, I'll touch on Ventress as well specifically,
Ventress
just to relay.
is so good.
And like it's pretty cool because I think we have a flick of there we go. So we got like the Ventress on the left. That's the Ventress I know. That's what I grew up with.
The assassin.
And like the assassin, like you said. And so like when we were talking about Bad Batch and you were telling me that like Ventress is back, new look, new lightsabers, like new kind of style.
It's the same lightsaber too, actually. It's really it's the same lightsaber, but it's changed. So the kyber crystal's been changed.
Different kyber crystal.
So technically, to get a kyber crystal that's yellow, I think it has to be drained of its color. So to get red, you have to force hatred into it, I think.
Yep.
Green and blue and purple and technically like even like yellow like that. There's a different color of yellow that just happens naturally. But I'm fairly certain to get like a quote unquote neutral color, you have to kind of just be equally both sides and your emotions have to kind of be in that spot.
Yeah, so I really like that like for me, I have a character that I'm familiar with on that kind of scale.
She's been there since the start. She's been there since the movie.
Yeah, that's that's pretty peak. You know?
It's insane. Yeah,
like I can't really remember my Star Wars fandom without knowing Ventress. So just with that being said, I thought that's a pretty cool callback. Yeah, and even to your point with like Omega, I know she's like I guess now a 1 of 2 with Boba Fett because Boba Fett was like a 1 of 1 case of the clone.
If we're honest, technically it's more than 1 of 2. Like Omega there, great shot. Omega, Boba Fett, the doctor who works with Hemlock is also a clone, but I don't know who she's a clone of.
Yeah,
because she's not. She's actually, I think she's voiced by the same voice actor who does Omega.
Oh, really? That's cool.
But it's not like. It's really hard to say that's what she's gonna look like as an adult because we've never seen a female Boba Fett.
I know. I was gonna say like I wonder how it would play out when she gets older, if that makes sense.
I know. So it'll be really interesting to see that. So like we have Boba Fett with Omega, maybe Grogu.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe, we don't really know. And like this entire thing is like them trying to change clones, and like then you have all these sleeper clones. They make all these sleeper clones, which I thought it was gonna be Boba Fett. I told Justin it might be Boba Fett, and then it was just some, and then hey, it actually was, but just not that Boba Fett. It was another Jango Fett.
Yeah, I was sitting at my desk and Eldin's like, Justin, it's gonna happen. I'm watching the episode. I think this is Boba Fett, and I got so excited.
Like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, about 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, Justin, no, it's not. And I'm like, no.
Oh, sorry, I was wrong.
It's like I just felt like Luke in episode 5. Like
Luke.
No. We need to get Luke one day.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters. Not Luke Skywalker, but Luke.
Luke.
W.
2 U's.
2 U's. But yeah, no, so I'm excited that with Star Wars, despite the Acolyte and like what we are going to get, I'm happy that today's current state is still really good because we don't have any other active Star Wars projects.
Take the good with the bad. I think I'm almost positive that Skeleton Crew is done. It's not coming out. Like which
is unfortunate.
I was excited for like a lone Jedi trying to keep like a bunch of younglings alive, but apparently it was just not what Disney was comfortable putting out with, which happened with Batwoman, happened with some other stuff. So it happens. Take the good with the bad. That's what we can do. Curse you, Acolyte.
Yeah, but I think any last minute thoughts on?
No, I think just check it out. Like if you haven't watched Bad Batch, check it out. You have to watch Clone Wars first, though. Like don't get me wrong, it's a long journey. Give it like a month, and then you're good.
Yep, I would say for me, closing thoughts is that I just want Boba Fett. That's it. So if Boba Fett pulls up, then I personally will at least watch on from that point.
Watch that episode.
And then continue.
Final episode of season 3. I'm watching it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the last season, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
So we need Boba Fett. Disney, if you're watching this, I don't know who from Disney.
It's already done production, man. They can't make a new one.
Well, that's the thing. Even though the production is done, please just make an episode with Boba Fett. Please. I'm begging you. If you don't, then I'm not gonna watch The Acolyte.
Make the Christmas special with Boba Fett.
Please, man, they need to. Like I know, like I will hold out for that.
No,
anything for Boba Fett, man. You've seen the Facebook group I'm in.
I'm in the same one.
Yeah. Shout out. Yeah. So I love Boba Fett, and hopefully you can join in. But yeah, so with that being said, we're going to take a quick music break. So coming up after the break, we're going to shift gears to Marvel and what they've been doing recently in animation. And don't forget, you could follow us on social media at DCSA Media Hub. We're going to play some music. A little boring today. It's the same playlist as last week. So we got more Like Saturn. We have Awake at Night by Like Saturn live from the Media Hub on ratradio.ca.
Hello and welcome back to Screen Chat, only on rightradio.ca and all of our other affiliations. My name's Eldin. This is...
I'm Justin.
And today we've been talking about, I'm going to say like just TV shows. That's mostly what this is about.
Yep.
And kind of put a pause on that, a non-TV show that I haven't watched yet, but it's a short, all about Miles Morales.
Yep.
And mental health. Men's mental health as well, which I think is a huge thing to talk about. I can guarantee that everybody in this room either has, is, or will suffer from any kind of mental health issues. It's a big thing to talk about, and seeing it in light of somebody who you know, like Miles Morales, is, I think, a really important thing. So, Justin, you watched it this morning. What did you think?
Yeah, so right off the bat, just great opener there. That's it's very true and it's very important. So right off the bat, like I knew going into this short that they did that it wasn't gonna necessarily advance the plot. It wasn't like supposed to be some great short film to be like, oh my god, get ready for Spider-Man 3. This was mainly for men's mental health. So it's called The Spider Within. And it starts off with like Miles pulling up, he's going back home, but as he's walking, he's just hearing like his parents yelling at him for like, oh, these grades are unacceptable. And it's like, where is he? Why is he getting home so late? And then it's like a clip of him getting beat up as Spider-Man and like the left side of his mask gets torn off. And like he's just going through it. And then like he finally gets home, his dad's there. It's like, son, it's a Friday night. I'm hyped. Like I just ordered 3 different movies. I got popcorn. Let's sit down and let's watch them together. He's really hyped to see him. And Miles is like, no, like I'm okay. And then he goes upstairs and slams his door. And like I saw a comment say this on YouTube, but I also agree with it. That's like one of the most relatable things I've ever seen in a superhero show.
100%.
And it's like we've all been there, right? Yep. Where it's like, no, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't need this. So have a good night. And you just go for it. And then like, so he sits down. So it's about, for reference, it's about 7 minutes. So this is about like at the 3-minute mark. He lies down and he's like looking up and he sees like a dark silhouette of himself kind of like come down and attack him. And then it like pushes him through his bed, symbolizing that they're like no longer in his room. So he's like battling this I don't know what the right word is to call it. I'll call it an entity. I feel like that would probably, you
could honestly just call it
his feelings,
the psyche.
Yeah, it's like his psyche, his feelings.
Just psyche. Like he's we all have our, as the meme goes, we all have our demons.
Yeah.
And as memey as that is, though,
it's true. It's the truth. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And like during it, because like Miles Morales is a pretty funny guy. So like during it, when he's getting attacked, he he legit says something along the lines of like, "Oh, I promise I won't step on any spiders ever again," and like just to make it funny. Yeah. But he eventually gets through that, and once he gets back home, back to like his room. He then gets up out of his bed and he says to his dad, he's like, "Dad, like, can we talk?" And his dad's kind of like motioning, like, "Yeah, come sit." And he's like, no, like, can we just like take a breath? And like they go for a walk, and like it just ends off with like him saying how like school's tough. He's like talking to one girl, he says, which is obviously Gwen. And like it's pretty cool because that 7 minutes was like, I'm not gonna like try and sound catastrophic here, but it might be the most realistic 7 minutes I've ever seen in something that is branded to be a superhero production.
100%,
like this was a thing called Spider-Man: The Spider Within. So this is fully like Spider-Man superhero Marvel. So like this is not to beat around the bush. Like they fully tell you that this is a Spider-Verse story, and that's what we got. And it really hit home for me too, because it wasn't like some low budget thing. Like it starts off like a movie. You see like the Paramount logo and all that stuff. Yeah. Shamik Moore is voice acting again, who I met actually, fun fact. But with that being said, it was great, and it was just one of those ones where like you almost like look at that and then you look at the YouTube comments and it's like everyone loved this, kind of like what that meme says. It's like everybody loved this. And also, not saying that like this was like some like peak thing here, but Sony actually collabed with basketball player Kevin Love. And so Kevin Love has like a foundation, and this was like made to like sponsor and donate to that. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. It's like, a lot of people out there that don't watch basketball don't really know Kevin Love. I would love basketball, so I grew up watching Kevin Love play ball. So like to me, that was like insane. Maybe to the common viewer who doesn't really know ball, it's whatever. But to me, I thought that was like wonderful. So overall, just a great cause. As a Spider-Man guy, like this was one of my more favorite projects of my, if I'm gonna be honest, that they've ever done. So it was a great thing that Marvel and Sony did through their animation. And honestly, like I wish it got not like more hype, but like it already had like 3 million views by the time I watched it, so like, it's only gonna go up.
I think it is. And again, like the big thing is like it's a really big thing. It's like quote unquote, as much as it's spoken about, it's really not.
Yep.
Mental health is spoken about, being I'm not here to, push for just men's mental health. Everyone has mental health. It's a huge system. It's a huge issue. I think there are definitely more things in place to help people out in certain different areas, and men's mental health is nowadays looked at better, but it has been looked at in the past of kind of just like, man up, get over it. You're a man, get over it. And I think a big thing is to see a superhero, B, a young superhero. It's not Beater in the Bush, he's black, which is like, we don't have a ton of that either. And you have like you're hitting all these things. It's not tokenism. It's not like putting it in just because it is. It's a character who's well established, who's young, who's going through it. And if you're watching this and you are, 16, puberty was tough. And like, it gets better after a while, but it was tough. And like, if you're going through this and you're like, well, you know what, that's what he's doing. And it's like not like him, binging and like hiding away. It's him actually facing it and dealing with it. And I think it's a huge thing because you look at like superhero families. There's not a lot of good ones that have parents to talk to. Like, you don't see that. Like, Miles is hiding his identity from his parents. This also could, you can go a broader spectrum. This could be somebody who who's part of the LGBTQ community and hasn't come out yet, and like this is him battling with that. You could have this as somebody who has any kind of issue where they're like, hey, I don't really know how to broach this subject, and like this is a good tie-in to say, hey, you can look at this and you can put any puzzle piece to finish that puzzle. It does not matter. The idea is there. It's up to you to put that piece in. And like that's how it should be. When you have something like that, it should let you, as a viewer, not feel alienated for not finishing or not fitting in that. You should be allowed to put your piece in, and that just completes it.
Yeah, for sure. That's
why the Acolyte. That's why the Acolyte doesn't have it.
Sucks. You heard it here, man. You heard it here. But
I told you I was done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's really cool too because like with Miles Morales, kind of like to piggyback what you said, it's like you finally get that black Spider-Man. Like in the community, like growing up with like Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, always like preaching that, and then like Logic eventually made a song saying, I think it's actually just called Black Spider-Man. Funny enough, the song. So we finally got that, and it's cool that like he's not someone that is like a god, if you will. At the end of the day, like you just said, he is like a young kid, just starts off university, I think, by the time the second one rolls around.
I think he's because I think he's still in high school.
Or maybe it is.
He's trying to finish
high school. Yes, he is.
And trying to get into university.
That's what it is, yeah. So it's like real, yeah.
It's a really big thing. Like, again, we're on a college campus that's attached to a university.
Yeah.
Everyone's gone through this. Everyone's gone through like
fighting
for good grades while trying to live their lives.
Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like, when you look at, let's say in theory, you look at Iron Man, who's like the billionaire playboy philanthropist, and he makes his own like crazy superhero suits. It's like, as cool as Iron Man is as a character, it's hard to relate to that. I'm not a billionaire.
I want to be like him. Yeah. I would love to be a billionaire playboy.
Yeah, but I'm not him.
I'm more like penance.
But then when you
think life hurts.
But then when you look at Miles Morales, kind of like what you said, every struggle that he's gone through like somewhat reverts back to we've gone through this. And like you made a good point comparing to like other like struggles and things that people go through. It's like even for him, like he in the second movie specifically, he just wants to be accepted by his friends and the people around him, and no one's accepting him. So it's like you deal with one struggle at home, you go somewhere where you think you're going to be accepted, and yet you still don't have that. And it's like, back to the university point, like it literally says in the show, Miles, your grades aren't good enough, this is unacceptable. And that was replayed more than Spider-Man losing the fight. So it's like it's cruel to see that, like, despite this guy being Spider-Man and having all the powers in the world, he still considers like his grades and like not coming home at curfew and all that stuff. And it's like you said, we all went through that. Growing up, if I was late for curfew, I'd get pressed. I still got pressed at like 18, 19 for coming home late. I
didn't have a curfew after 15.
Yeah,
if I got home alive, it was good. It was good enough. I got keys, I can get in. Don't put the deadbolt on, please.
So that being said, I thought it was a great thing that Sony did, and I mean, we don't say that a lot, so when Sony really does something well with Marvel, it hits home a bit better. And I feel like this is one where you just put it on that pedestal of like Spider-Verse specifically is much more than just what you see on the screen.
Totally.
And I feel like this is another, like, I guess, homage to that. So to me, it was like perfect. So I'm really glad they did that.
Piggybacking off that, though, moving on to our next topic, in the topic of Marvel / comics / things, we have X-Men.
Yeah.
X-Men 97, newest episode, which I think also touches on struggles.
It does.
We have Jean Grey and Jean Grey. And which one is which? Who's the real Jean Grey? It's like a split personality almost. Yeah. Whose life has been lived, whose memories exist, because they both have telekinesis, so they have each other's memories.
Yeah.
One's a clone, one's not. And like I think it was an amazing episode.
It was.
Yeah.
And like, we'll get into it now. And like with Marvel on the animation line, it feels like right now they can't do any wrong. We are getting
and I'm
spoiled.
nervous because when we get spoiled, we get things taken away later.
And I feel like, not sounding like a little kid, but like watching X-Men 97 has just made me realize why I am a Marvel fan. And it did for me, and we were discussing this off air. Like it did kind of start with X-Men,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
X-Men Evolutions, man.
Yeah,
that
X-Men
was like
Evolution,
one of the first shows.
I was 3 when I started watching that.
Yeah,
I was 3 years old.
Legit. So, so we're gonna shift to this now, and like just another impeccable episode. So in this one, we finally get the reveal that we were waiting for. As B said, some might call him Sinister.
Some might call
him Mr. Sinister was finally revealed to us.
God, what an icon!
Look at how
I
good
wish
he
I
looks.
was him. Like, look at that, the cape, the flowing cape. This guy's probably he's also probably a clone. This is probably clone Mr. Sinister because he has like 19 clones. He just makes them because he can. He's a strong male character wearing lipstick. Like, you know what? All the power to you. Looks like Sting.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Like, go with it. He's got this guy living his life. The Mr. Sinister.
It was awesome, and it was a villain reveal done right because fake Jean Grey's holding Nathan in their baby room.
No, Nathan.
And then the baby monitor starts going off, and you hear his voice, and you're like, who is this? But you don't gotta wait because he then reveals himself right after the green mist kind of comes in, which you see there on the left, and then Sinister walks through it. So
and like, what a good villain! Like,
oh man.
Also, I called it.
You did call it.
Well, like he's tortured more for years. He creates the clone, who is Madeline Pryor.
Yep.
He worked with Apocalypse.
Yeah.
He also wounded Apocalypse to the point where
did.
Apocalypse had to go into hibernation. Like, he has done so much. He's also, I think he was one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse too at one point.
I feel like you're right.
He's been such a big character.
Yeah.
He is like the father of studying mutations. He knew Charles Darwin. And went to his funeral. Yeah. Like, that's wild. Like, this guy's been around since 1800s.
Oh my god!
And like, we finally have
Charles
him.
Darwin.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my god! But no, it was pretty peak, and like Mr. Sinister.
So good.
We get the reveal in episode 3. So the first 2 episodes, you don't really know what the villain is because you're thinking it's going to be the people versus the mutants. Because obviously, as you guys have hopefully seen by now, Magneto goes to court, the government's against them, they arrest them, yada, yada, yada.
Even the Sentinels pop up in the first episode.
Yeah, the Sentinels are there too. That's a good point.
Sentinels are the big ones.
And now it's like, whoa, finally we get Mr. Sinister. So his biggest accomplishment, I guess, for himself is that he was able to breed Madeline Pryor. I
wouldn't even say breed. I don't think breed is a proper term. Like, yes and no. Like, he clones her, right? Like, he clones her, he makes her. I think Kent wants to give it a little
Mike 5.
I was gonna say more like not breeds, kind of like grows, creates.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, good. I like that.
Creates.
Grows. Like, it's like a vat, right? She just has 2 baby.
And
makes her, and it worked.
And then now, after a little bit of self-revelation, fake Jean Grey dumps Jean Grey, the Phoenix Force, whatever you want to call it, and is now Goblin Queen, as she says.
Madeline Pryor.
An interesting reveal, to be fair, because we see Madeline. Oh my days! Look at her.
I think my favorite character in this season so far.
She looks deadly, man. She looks deadly, and I just feel like when you see. When you watch the episode, and you see her go like, I am Goblin Queen, it's like, what?
And this is also her under the control of Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Sinister built her, made her. Beast finds out from her blood, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
This genetic signature, I know who this is.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like with Goblin Queen, I'm actually not too familiar.
Nor am I.
I know Dan is. Shout out to Dan because you were talking about him. Or her, sorry. And I just feel like with this character, I'm so familiar with like Jean Grey herself being good and or bad. Not Jean Grey's clone being a villain. Like, this is sick. I didn't even know this existed.
Well, we knew because like looking up who is Cable's mom. Right there. That's her. But that thing is like this episode was wild because we have Madeline Pryor dealing with her issues of who am I.
Yep.
Then we have Mr. Sinister in her mind being like, you're mine. I made you. Like, I own you. And then he just like activates something and she was crazy. And like this point, you don't see it. She had a gem on her forehead that matches Mr. Sinister's.
Yes, which was insane.
And she's like mind controlling the entirety of the X-Men. And like you see all these situations where like she's bringing their worst fears out. They go to hell. Like literally in purgatory.
Yeah. I think I have a photo of that too.
Of like the house falling apart. Yeah. Like when she's creating, they're falling into hell.
Yeah,
and this is after she just had like.
Look at Gambit. Oh my god.
Gambit's like, what is going on? This isn't half my future. But like you have Jubilee and her boyfriend who had to deal with who had to deal with fighting with her boyfriend's mom, who's like, you're a disappointment, you're a mutant, I hate you. Which can be, you can look at that at a lot of different things. It can just not be mutant. You can look at it everything else. You have Gambit, who had to see Rogue and Magneto getting it on, combining into one being, which terrified him because he loves Rogue, and Rogue and Magneto have a thing. Cyclops got, I don't even know how Cyclops, I forget. He looks like such a noob. Oh, Evan has something to say.
Question.
Yes.
Why is Jubilee's boyfriend still here?
He hasn't gone home yet. Yeah. They were waiting to send him off. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
I don't think he wants to go home either. He specifically
has no
said,
place to go, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Morph had this weird scene in the shower where like Mr. Sinister's like, I'm Logan, come shower, and Morph's like, I'll scratch your back, and then he was like, actually, I'm Mr. Sinister. He's like, oh my god, not like this again, not like this. Beast was hilarious. The elevator comes up and like this head opens up and like the tongue lolls out, and Beast's like, oh, I think I might have the wrong floor, and then just like closes the elevator, and it's like, okay,
Beast kills me.
Okay, he's just like slapstick. It's so good.
It was such a good scene because the quality of this episode in terms of animation and what we got, like product, it was top tier, and I feel like, you know, with some, and no, not even just shows, with some shows, just period, live action as well, you don't expect that high quality, and I feel like you got one of the more better, like, I guess, storylines being told in animation, and it just looks amazing. So I was really happy with that personally. With you, Eldin. Sorry, I was gonna say Evan. With you,
Evan. I've been calling you Evan all day. So
hello, that's me.
Hi.
All right, you know, just on that note, behind the scenes, what were your guys' like initial thoughts on the episode after watching it?
I totally agree with you. I think this is the best animated fight I've seen in a long time. From like a non-anime standpoint, it's just so good.
And Magneto
it's specifically the Magneto Goblin Queen fight.
That was good.
That looks really, really, really good. But also the use of, I didn't realize this until last episode, but they're all 3D modeled.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I didn't catch that until I saw this episode, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, this is so cool!"
It's like rotoscoping almost.
Almost, yeah. It's they just have 3D models in their 3D rigs instead of just 2D drawings. So it makes it really pop, and then it looks like all the effects are 2D drawn in. So it just looks really,
amazing.
really good. So, yeah, I completely agree. I love this episode. I thought it was so good. They've also done a really good job of, like, teasing some stuff, and I'm looking forward to the next few episodes. Kent, your thoughts?
Honestly, you beat me to the punch. I really have nothing else to say after that. I was just going to say everything else there, too.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season, and I think with this one, right, like, and I've made the point to you on this show before, with Marvel, if you're like in and around like our age, you're not really grown up with Captain America and the Iron Mans. You were grown up with the X-Men.
You missed X-Men was our thing, and I want to just say, I'm gonna put an idea out there. So we saw Morph turn into two people. We saw Magic, turned to Magic, and also turned into Spiral. Spiral comes from the Mojoverse.
Yes. Okay.
We've seen someone from the Mojoverse as well. In what was the guy's name? The alien from Deadpool 2.
Oh man,
he's just better at this than everything.
Yeah,
he's from the Mojoverse as well. So maybe we'll have the Mojoverse. We had Sinister. We had. I think we're not done with Sinister yet, but we saw Forge. Forge is back. He's talking to Storm. We saw Forge.
Forge was sick at the end.
Cable is now going to the future with Bishop. Bishop's returned to the future. So Bishop's gone. Scott, I love Cyclops as a character. Hate this version of Cyclops. Cyclops is a villain. Cyclops is the Dark Phoenix. Is amazing. The Cyclops. I was like, man, I love the Cyclops. And then I realized, I love my wife. This is my wife. I'm not going to leave my wife. I can't leave my child. I have to leave the room. I can't be like this. I'm not going to. What are you doing? And then she leaves. And then now he's getting a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you got to get a divorce because you married the wrong woman.
Yeah, it's gnarly, but like. With X-Men though, like I was gonna say, so we grew up with it and we know how important Jean Grey is as a character. And like, you know, when I think of Jean Grey, I think of, oh my days, I forget the actress's name now, but I think of the live action adaptation. So for me, the standards are kind of high. So when the real Jean Grey came back at the end and she locked in and tapped into her powers and this scene came up, I was like, oh my god, like just the visuals on that too. Like I gotta take off my glasses and look at this.
It confirmed that Madeline Pryor was the Phoenix Force.
Yep,
not Jean Grey.
Not Jean Grey.
Because Madeline Pryor says, I was the Phoenix Force. I was power. And Jean
Yeah.
Grey was like, is that all you want is power? Like, you're so much more than that.
Like, it was crazy. And, like, just her, we troll about this in anime with, as they call it, like, talk no jutsu. But Jean Grey's talk no jutsu in this episode was actually like, okay, this makes sense. Like, you get to see what she's saying.
Because you're fighting in your brain.
And, like, she's making good points. He's not saying we're the same. We don't have to fight. It's like, no, she's literally, like you said, it's like gaslighting her. Yeah. It's like, is that all you want? Like, you just want power? Come on, bro. What are we doing? Like, lock in. And then
we are more than this.
Yeah. And then eventually, they do lock in, which is good. And yeah, it was cool that they got the semi-good ending because to really on Eldon's point, they get Cable back, but Cable's infected. So Bishop states
how he becomes superhuman.
Yeah, and Cable's like, Bishop's like, yeah, I don't have enough power to bring myself, Cable, Scott, Jean. Like, I can only take
just
Cable.
Me and the baby.
So if you're willing to, and it's like, yeah, do what you got. Doesn't he say like, just do what you got to do? Essentially, it's like you got to.
Basically,
if you got to like,
if he's gonna stay, he's gonna die.
Yeah. So I think that 3 episodes in, we're getting a lot of different, like, I guess not a lot of storylines, but a lot of different like emotional connections to these stories.
Totally.
You got, do you feel for Scott? Do you feel for Jean?
Nope.
Fake Jean? Do you feel for Storm? That was a big loss, right? And then you kind of got Logan, who's kind of, oh yeah, Evan's going.
Sorry, I have thoughts on Scott.
Oh yes,
I think Scott is awful, terrible in this episode.
Oh yeah.
He has a moment where he's like, I won't abandon my child. I won't let him feel like that. And then walks away. Yeah. Like, it's going to happen. Yep. You don't have a choice in this. You're choosing either to stay by your son or make sure he lives in the future. Yeah. And you're not even going to see him off. Yeah. You've got like an hour at tops with your son. Spend the time with your son. Yeah. Biggest rookie move that Scott could have made. Yep. Awful, terrible.
Totally.
And then, like, even with Logan, too, like, he hasn't been, like, in the limelight in the sense of, like, I always forget that this is actually X-Men 97, not Wolverine 97, So I could appreciate that this series so far feels like X-Men and not Wolverine and the gang.
And it very much felt like that before. But I think that's all we really have time for if we want to wrap up with, we want to be able to go to a music break and talk about Invincible. So
yeah, you're right.
It's up to you guys whether we go to a break or we just keep going and we just jump into Invincible.
I mean, we can just jump into Invincible if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so with that being said, X-Men, check it out.
Shifting gears,
Invincible.
Season 2, Part 2.
Justin hasn't watched any of it.
That's a lie. That's Cap. That's Cap.
He watched episode 5 and 6. He watched episode 5 today.
Yeah.
5, 6, and then a quick recap.
Oh, no, he started watching 5, asked a question. I said, watch a recap of the previous seasons.
Yeah.
Watch the recap, ask more questions. And then we watched episode 5.
Awesome. Okay.
So, we're moving on to Invincible.
Mark
Grayson. It's a big episode. There's a lot going on. This season has been, I shouldn't say season because it's not, it was a pause. This episode 7 came out today, so I'm going to give you, again, 10 seconds to punch out of this video because we are going to talk about Invincible episode 7 today, right now. Justin hasn't seen it, but I'm going to spoil it for him, so he doesn't count. And go. That time, okay, we're going. So, episode 5, we come back in. Mark's back from Thraxis. He has a little brother, took his little brother's mom, I guess his
half-brother.
His half-brother. His half-brother's mother is a Thraxan, so she has a very short lifespan, so she's dying. So she says, take him with you. He's gonna live.
Son.
He's gonna live lifetimes. Oliver.
Ollie.
He's gonna live lifetimes longer than I am. Take him with you, please. Don't do me the disservice of having to like, die with him still being a baby. And he's like, all right, done. I'll take it. So he takes Oliver to his mom. Shout out his mom, like
Debbie.
Holy Debbie is like an amazing character. She's lived through Debbie's fantastic. She's lived through like a terrible experience with Omni-Man. She's lived through all kinds of terrible things, and now she's going to take his son, who isn't her son, and look after him. And he starts calling her mom. He starts calling her Mama because he's growing. So he's like Mama, and he calls Mark Bubba. And I was like, okay, God, this kid's talking too fast.
Oh man,
but he's growing fast. Like his lifespan is like. Between the Viltrumite lifespan and his lifespan, he's gonna be like a teenager by like I don't know, like maybe Earth years 2.
Really?
Like,
that would make sense.
Because the Thraxans only live for like.
I think they said 9 months. That's what they said in the episode.
Yeah. So they don't live for long. Yeah, he watched. Yeah, Thraxans don't live for long.
Yep.
And well.
So it was pretty cool to see, like, you know, the whole emotional battle for the Empress. I forget her name, the Thraxian. Do you remember
I don't
Oliver's
remember. Yeah.
And like it was
Oliver's mom.
Oliver's mom, yeah.
Yep.
And it was cool because she even says to Mark, like, Mark, look at how different I am from when you first met me. And it's her like
So
old.
much. And it's only been like
A
month.
Yeah, it's only been a month. So it's a pretty cool dynamic, and it's one that I can now appreciate watching an episode versus seeing clips and recaps.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool because it doesn't necessarily beat around the bush. It's like, no, I can't take your son. Mark, listen, I am going to die. She literally says, generations are going to die in front of this child. He needs to go with you. And it's like, fair enough. I will take my brother home. And like
Debbie names him.
Yeah.
Debbie names him because he doesn't have a name. Debbie names him Oliver.
Yeah, shout out
after
Debbie.
Mark's grandfather.
Oh, I hate it. That's
Which
good.
is great.
Yeah.
But we only have 7 minutes, so I'm trying to power through this. So
And
that was that episode.
And we'll skip through to
Episode 6 was wild.
We're taking the reins. Go.
Episode 6 was wild. The lizard people,
It's the Lizard League.
okay, great. LL, Lizard League. Hiss. I don't know what lizard.
Shout out Nikki.
I don't know what they do.
Yeah, great.
No,
Hiss.
it's just like hiss, gun.
Yeah, bang. So Lizard League's now apparently a bad. Like they actually know what they're doing. They're attacking a military facility, getting nuclear warheads.
Yep.
You have Komodo, Iguana, Gila Monster, and then Lizard King. They are wrecking. So at this point, the Guardians of the Globe have gone to Earth to stop a Martian ship coming back with these like weird parasite things. Basically, Starro.
The Sequids.
The Sequids, yeah. So basically, Starro, they're mind controlling things. They can't mind control Martians because Martians can change their bodies, but they can mind control humans. And womp womp, Shapesmith was a Martian who left the original guy there, and now the Sequids have taken over. So this guy's called the Great Betrayer.
Yep.
Shapesmith is called the Great Betrayer. So Mark and them are all gone. So then the standback is Rexplode, Shrink Girl, and
Duplicate.
Yes. And this was a mess up episode. Duplicate's dead.
Yep. Rest in
Rexplode
peace.
gets shot in the head.
Yep.
And almost dies. And Shrinky Girl is almost dead as well. So
They get
Rexplode
hacked.
was in the ICU. Shrinky Girl gets eaten. And then breaks all of her bones trying to expand in Komodo, but he just like
That was
he
gnarly.
just flexes and
Yeah.
and then it just stops. Komodo bites off Rex's hand. Very violent episode.
It
so
was.
I wouldn't watch it around your children.
Yeah, I was even looking at, like, I typed in episode 6 pictures, and it's just too gory to even pull up.
Like,
Unfortunately,
it was a lot. So then that's happened. Now some other things though. You have Mark and the Guardians of the Globe help. They beat the Sequids. You see some issues with Immortal because he doesn't even know Kate's died yet. But Immortal is definitely showing signs where like he's like, I'm in charge, and Mark's like, you're not fast enough, man. This isn't a power thing. Let me. I'm faster than you. I can do this. And Immortal's like, I'll cover you.
Immortal.
And that's great. And then Immortal gets home. Duplicate's dead, and he's like, oh my god. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what am I supposed to do now? Like,
Yeah.
this is a woman I loved, and like he's lived lifetimes.
he has.
So
I mean,
now he's toast.
Yep.
So now he wants to go on vacation or leave. He's having a rough time. Like it's so much. That episode alone, I'm giving it discredit, but like we're pressed for time. And then jumping forward to episode 7,
Yes.
this one's wild.
The twist.
So first of all, I want to say the first like 10 minutes is them. It's Mark talking to an animator about how long it takes to animate TV shows and how they cut corners in certain spots.
It's one of my favorite
So
scenes.
good. And like everything they're saying that they cut corners with is they're doing it in that sequence. Like it's so good. Then Mark gets called away to help Rexplode. He's fighting Octoboss, which is a great guy. I like Octoboss. He calls him Davy Jones.
Davy
Hilarious.
Jones.
Rex calls him Davy Jones. And then this is pretty much where the episode ended for me because I didn't get to finish it. Mark and Amber are going on a date, and then Anissa shows up. And Anissa, we have a picture of Anissa. Probably one of the most hated characters in in Invincible comics. If you don't know what she did, look it up. I'm not going to talk about it.
Nope, not something we talk
but
about.
she's a terrible character.
That's ops.
She's ops.
I don't even know if they're going to do that for the show.
Oh, they're going to.
Yeah.
If they're going to progress it, they need to.
I think they do.
Yeah, like you need to. Like you can't cut the comic and then like there's no story you can get away with.
Yeah, so I'm going to add quickly.
like not-
My bad, Kent, you go.
No, sorry. It's just, it's not that anyone wants to see it.
No, but it has to
it's,
happen.
It's pivotal to
Yeah.
Mark's arc.
Yeah. Like, there's gonna be no background if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I said a couple of weeks ago that I made my predictions, right, for Invincible, and then I was informed afterwards that they are taking it straight from the source that I obviously don't read. Yeah. I've been informed to what ends up happening, and yeah, it's it actually rough. I'm gonna give you a hot take. It makes me appreciate the series even more that they're willing to go that far.
Totally, it's real.
Like it's insane, real. And it's like this. I'm so shocked that I didn't hop on this earlier. It took me like probably 5 friends to get on it, but it's an incredible show. I'm glad I started, and like with this whole Anissa reveal now, it's kind of like, oh my god, like it's only just her. It's gonna happen. It's crazy, and it's why this is one of, if not the best, like animated show around right now. Really and truly, you know, like it's impeccable. So yeah.
That being said, though,
I think this is the end of the episode.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the rest of the episode, so check it out, and I'll be watching it with you as well. That being said, though, thank you as always for having me on.
Of course,
I really appreciate it. Yeah,
this was amazing. You know, it's always good. And, special time today, obviously Thursday, 2 to 3. So, thank you guys again for watching. Thank you to everyone that made it this far. And, honestly, just love talking on these episodes as always. So, that being said, we're going to wrap it up. So, thank you once again to Eldin. Thank you to Evan and Kent behind the scenes. This would not have been possible without y'all. And be sure to check us out on social media at W like this.
I'm doing W like this.
Okay, we'll go W like. You know what? Put it up quickly. So the thumbnail. Yes, sir. So yeah, with that being said, don't forget you could check us out on social media at DCSA Media Hub. We're going to play out with more like Saturn. We got Floating in an Endless Void closing out screen chat live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.